So we started talking about the nicknames of Jesus, as I like to call them. I don't know if there really is nicknames, but there are things that Jesus is called other than Jesus in the Bible. And the reason is because when you learn somebody's nickname, you learn stuff about them, right? I mean, you get to know them better when you know like what they're called. So I had lots of nicknames growing up. One was Short Stuff. Okay, that was in middle school. And now if I tell you in middle school I was called Short Stuff, you learned something about me, right? I was still kind of short, but I was very short then, okay? I was a little bitty guy. There was a time when I was in like 6th grade maybe, a lot of people called me Slick. Okay, that's because my hair was like slick. I had a part right here and like enough gel to like freeze, I don't know, all of your hair. And it just like, okay, so Slick was that. I went through a brief spike stage. You can kind of get an idea there. And in 3rd grade, I think it was 3rd grade, people called me Chili Bowl, okay? I had a lot of hair-based nicknames. Luckily there's not many pictures from back then. I did find this one, okay? So that's my grandparents and my sister. That's what I grew up with. Okay. But yeah, that was basically they put a bowl on your head and they just cut around it, okay? And you just had what was left. In fact, if one of you guys do that, I'll give you $5, okay? Just to say. So you have to come back next Wednesday with the chili bowl, all right? But anyways, $5. First come. So if 2 people do it, you better be the first one. All right, anyway. So yeah, I had nicknames. And see, as you learn nicknames about somebody, you get to know stuff about them, right? So like a while ago, I started calling Tracy Tracy Bear. Not because she turns into a bear, because it's like teddy bear and she's cuddly, okay? So see, now you learn something about our relationship. You know something when you learn somebody's nickname. And so we started talking about nicknames that Jesus has, right? And the reason is because we want to know him better. We want to know what he's like. A lot of people really don't understand Jesus. They really don't understand God. They have these weird thoughts. In fact, let me tell you how a lot of people see God. And I'll tell you through a guy named Ellie Boudreaux, okay? Ellie Boudreaux was really hick, okay? And he got married, and for 40 years, he said that him and his wife didn't have any fights. For 40 years. And somebody said, Ellie, how did y'all go for 40 years and never have a fight? What's your secret? And he said, well, on our wedding day, we got married, and they're real country, and so they had a horse-drawn carriage to leave the wedding with, okay? And so they get in their horse-drawn carriage, and they get ready to go, and the horse won't move. And so his brand new bride gets out of her seat in her dress and walks down to that horse and says, that's one. Gets back in, and the horse starts going. All right, so they get going. He's like, wow, that really... Okay, and a little bit later, the horse stops and just won't go. And they're trying to make it go, it won't go. She gets out, walks back up, says to that horse, well, that's 2, okay? Gets back in, and he's like, this is weird, okay? And the horse starts going. Finally stops one more time, and she gets out. She goes and says to that horse right in the face, and that's 3. She reached inside her purse, pulls out a revolver, boom, shoots the horse dead right there. She gets back in the carriage, and he's like, what did you just do? Now we have to walk. And she looked at Ellie and said, that's 1. He said, I never argue with her again after that moment. Now, the reason I say that is because a lot of you picture God like that. Like you made a mistake, you made a sin, and he was up there, that's 1. And you do a couple more of those, and I'm going to your life, okay? And that's kind of how people picture God, and that is not a good picture of him. And so we've been talking about Jesus and different things about him that we can learn. He was called a teacher. He was called the Lamb, which seems kind of weird. And if you don't know the behind the nickname, it kind of makes him weird. But today we're going to talk about one more. This is the last one we're going to do. One more thing that Jesus was called. And so if you brought your Bibles, you can turn to Psalms 23. Psalms 23. Now, we're going to look at another verse first, but then we're going to spend the rest of the time there, okay? And so Psalms 23, we're going to start, though, in John 10. I'm going to show you something. So Jesus is talking, and he says this, okay? The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. It's really hard for me to say that right because I grew up in this church with a hick pastor, and he was like, steal, kill, and destroy. Kill. Kill had a lot of extra. Anyways, to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. So this is what Jesus wants for you, a full life, by the way, not That's 3. Okay, he wants you to have a full life. But then he's going to give us, he actually nicknames himself, okay? So he tells us something about himself. He says, I am the good shepherd. So if you're writing that down, Jesus is the shepherd, okay? He says, I am the good shepherd. And then he's going to describe what a shepherd does, okay? A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep, which we know that he did, right? He laid down his life for the sheep. And then it says this, a hired hand is not the shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees a wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. Are you kind of getting a picture of what's happening here? The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. Okay, it's like if you go to a bank and rob it, they're just going to give you the money. Like if you have a gun, you don't even have to have a gun. You can just pretend. Just put your hand and be like, give me the money, all right? And they'll be like, here you go, because they don't care. It is not their money. They'll just give it to you. Now you'll go to jail. Don't try it, okay? But they will. They won't shoot you. They won't fight you. They'll just give you. I have a friend who works at the bank. You just walk up and say, give me $1,000, and they'll start giving you money because that's what they don't care. It's not their money. He's saying this isn't his sheep. So here comes these wolves, right? And you're like, me die, sheep die. I'll let the sheep die, okay? And they just take off, okay? But the shepherd doesn't do that, does it? Then he goes on and he says, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. So in this illustration, Jesus is the shepherd and we are what? Sheep. That's what he's talking about. And in this illustration, we are the sheep. He's the shepherd. Now, sheep need a shepherd. I don't know if you know very much about sheep, but they're pretty helpless on their own. If you put a sheep in the wild, you basically gave nature a snack. That's pretty much just free lamb chops out here because they can't defend themselves at all. Okay, it would be like getting in a fight with a cotton ball. Okay, it's just not going to help. That's pretty much all they are. I mean, anything else would be better. If you got in a fight with somebody, I mean, a cell phone, I could throw it at your face. It'd hurt, okay? A pen, I could stab you in the neck. I mean, that would probably be helpful. This, didn't even make it to the front row. Okay, they have no defense at all. I mean, even like, okay, a dog can bark. Some dogs bark really mean. You're like, okay, stay away. Cats, they have that, okay, that noise. What does a sheep do? Nah. I mean, it's like they're starting to say barbecue, okay? Like, eat me, okay? So they have nothing that they can do. Sheep need a shepherd, okay? And what I'm trying to get at is we often need a shepherd because you've all had life. Now, their illustration is a wolf coming at you. Hopefully that's never happened to you. But you've had life come at you, okay? In fact, you may have even felt like this. Like it talks about the hired hand who left when it happened. You may have had some friends who you thought had your back. And the second things got tense, they took off, right? The second things started getting difficult. They were like, never mind, we're going with our other friends. But God doesn't do that. Jesus doesn't do that. The good shepherd doesn't do that because he cares for you. So we want to learn about the good shepherd. And I can't think of a better way than the passage that talks about the shepherd, and that's Psalms 23. So we're going to look at Psalms 23, and we're going to learn something about Jesus tonight and how he is the shepherd that cares for us. And so I'm basically going to learn two big things. This entire chapter is only 6 verses, okay? And so we're going to look at Psalms 23, but we're going to learn two big things. And the first thing is this, that the shepherd provides. They're going to put it up there. The shepherd provides, okay? Now, let me just kind of show you the beginning of this. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. In other words, I'm not going to have lack. I'm not going to have need. He's my shepherd. He's going to take care of me. Now, you kind of understand this a little bit, especially being teenagers who live at home with your parents, and that you all ate today, right? You ate food. Some of you ate too much food, but we all ate food, okay? I ate probably too much food. You ate, but most of you did not pay for it out of money that you earned with your own money. And maybe one of the meals, but not. So you go in the morning and there's Fruit Loops in the pantry and you're just happy that there's Fruit Loops there. You're like, Fruit Loops, that'd be great. Okay, but you're just glad that there's something there. You don't question it. You don't think, you don't worry about it. There's going to be food there. They provided for you. And what this is saying is, in a much greater sense, your shepherd is going to provide for your needs. Now you may be going, wait, this says I shall not be in want. Like I'm not going to have want, but I want a girlfriend and I don't have one. Or I want a car, or I want a better phone that's not cracked and I don't have it. Now it does not say the Lord is my vending machine, okay? boop, 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 girlfriend. All right, that's not how that works with God. But he is our shepherd and gives us the things that we truly need. Now, let me tell you a couple of things that he provides, okay? And we're going to look at the next verses to see those. And the first one is peace. He provides peace. Check this out. The next verse says this. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. Here's green pastures. Now, if you think about green pastures for a sheep, that's what they eat. This is like a buffet of meat, okay, for us. I don't know, or if you're vegetarian, sorry. But it's like, this is the perfect life for them. A big green pasture cannot be better. And then it says, leads me beside still waters, okay? And I just a picture of a lake. It's just still, you can see the reflection. It's beautiful. For them, for even us, going to a place where the water's just still, it's just peace, right? Or by a creek. Have you ever been by a creek with the running water, or by the ocean, maybe if you wrote it nowadays for us, it'd be like, it leads me beside the beach, or something. I don't know. But here's the point, is it's peace. It's contentment. It's that. And so he says he provides that. So you can kind of picture that from a sheep point of view, okay? Okay, and then he keeps going. So he provides peace. He provides for us. And then it says he restores my soul. Now, have you ever maybe said something like this where you said I just felt broken when that relationship ended? Have you ever felt heartbroken, or you felt broken when your parents separated? You felt broken when, sorry, I got a little heavy here, but you've maybe felt brokenness in your life, okay? Like your life was shattered. That's when your soul, your emotions, your heart feel broken. This is what he says he can do. The shepherd restores, okay? He didn't just glue it back together with some super glue. He restores. Restores means he makes it whole again. He makes it new again. He can take your heart, your emotions, your soul, and make it whole again, even after it felt broken. So he provides restoration. He provides that healing for us. He provides one more thing. He provides guidance. So when we don't know what to do, he provides it. It's the next verse. He says, he guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. He guides me, I'm going to say it like this, in the right path. Because you're making decisions all the time. And sometimes you've made a decision and later you were like, I wish I wouldn't have made that decision. I wish I would not have dated her, okay? I wish I would not have ever even talked to him, okay? And so you've kind of gone through these things. I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I would have done that different. I wish I would have said no. He can guide you so that you don't do those things. What if the next time you were going to make a bad relationship decision, something in your heart said, no, watch out, that's bad news, okay? And you're like, oh, okay. And you heard him. He will speak to you. You have to learn to hear his voice. He's the shepherd, and the sheep learn to hear his voice. Now, I heard about this pastor. He was going to become a pastor, and before he did, though, he wanted to spend a year in Israel. So he went to Israel, where Jesus was and all that, and he spent some time with actual shepherds, as a job. And the shepherd he was working for had 2,000 sheep. And one day they went to a valley. So they said, we're going to take them over to this place so they can graze. And so they get all the sheep and they go down. And when they get there, there's 10 or 15 other shepherds. And there's 20,000 sheep in this valley. And so all his sheep go down. There's all those other sheep. And they all just mix together. And the shepherd's just chilling, talking while they eat. Well, finally it starts getting late. And one shepherd's like, I got to go. And he stands up and he starts walking off. And he just goes oh, I don't know, make some shepherd noise, and all of a sudden, these heads just all pop up from the ground, and just start coming, and all of his sheep they're all mixed together, just walk out, and another shepherd gets up, and he's like, woo, okay, and then they all follow him out, and this guy was like, this is amazing, because every sheep followed, and he asked the shepherd, he's like, did you ever get the wrong sheep? He's like, nope, they always follow me. They had their call, and they knew their call. Is your dad or something? My dad had a whistle, okay? We'd be in a crowd, and if he did his, shh, I can't do it. But if he did it, it was oh, that's my dad. I got to go. What to do? Okay? My grandmother did it with her cows, okay? We would go out to the, actually, they didn't have it mixed in, but we'd go out to feed them, and she would go, woo, cow, come on, like that. Woo, cow, come on. And so every single time, it was we go out there, and she'd go, woo, cow, come on, and all these cows, whoop, 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 and they start coming up because the feeding trough was full. Okay, so when I was 7, don't do this. I was 7. You can do bad things when you're 7, okay, because you don't know any better. We were at Golden Corral, and there was these 2 large men walking towards the buffet, and I went, woo, cow, come on. Oh, my grandmother died laughing. But don't do that. But okay, so here's these sheep, right? They call their sheep and they just come out. They never go to the wrong one. They know. Now listen I'm not going to put it on the screen, but listen. This is John 10, verse 3. His sheep follow him. This is talking about Jesus. His sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Here's the idea behind it, that you can get to a point where you hear God speak to you. And that maybe sounds foreign to some of us. Like, really? And it's not going to be necessarily like a voice. I mean, if you hear a real voice, I'd be scared. But like, it's in your heart, like you'll know. Like you'll be thinking about doing something. You'll be thinking about going to like a party and you'll feel like, okay, I can't go to that one. Something's going to happen. And then you'll find out the next day, like, oh yeah, half of them got arrested because there's, this thing was there and the police got called. And you're like, I'm so glad. I knew a guy who left a party. He felt like God told him to leave. And then the police showed up and everybody got arrested. It was amazing. God could speak to you and like tell you, don't get in that relationship. Get out of that thing. Do this if you'll just be open to hearing his voice. Now, he will speak to you. He will provide guidance. He will provide peace. He will provide those things. He's not just our provider, though. He's also our protector. The shepherd protects. Let's look at the next part. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Like, could they have named it any worse? The valley of the shadow of death, okay? Now, I don't know about you, but every time I read this, I picture that scene in The Lion King where Simba's like, what's with that shadowy place over there? You must never go there, Simba. And it's like, did y'all see The Lion King? And it's like that place where Scar lives with all the, I just picture that as the shadow of death. But anyways, so this is obviously not a good place, the shadow of death, okay? He says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, a place of fear, he says, I'll fear no evil. So even though I'm in like this place of fear, I don't have fear. See, because a lot of people have fear. Some of you are afraid of the school year that's coming up. Some of you are afraid of something going on with your family. You're afraid of messing up. You're afraid of failing. You're afraid of all these different things. And this is what it says. In the middle of fear, we cannot have fear. Or maybe say it like this. In the middle of a fearful situation, a scary situation, in the valley of shadow of death, we can live without fear. Why? How? He tells us. For, here's the first one, you are with me. You can be without fear because the shepherd, Jesus, is with us in the valley of the shadow of death. In the middle of the fear, he is with us. So many of you know I have a little daughter. She's like 16 months old. She's so cute running around, And so we have her here sometimes. And every now and then she'll see like a scary looking guy, like Landon. And she'll just go like, and she starts doing her feet, and then she'll like run to me, and then she just grabs onto my legs like this and just holds on, and she's like, and I just pick her up, and then she feels all safe, right? Because she's with me, and she knows I'll keep Landon away, okay? But he's like, it's true. This is kind of true. But here's why I tell you that. Because when you are in a situation, and you're laying in your bed at night and you just feel overwhelmed because you don't know what to do, you can know that your shepherd, Jesus, is with you. And you can find peace in that. You can find comfort in that. When in the middle of whatever is facing you, whatever you're facing, in the middle of bad news, when you're at the hospital, when you just got a bad text, when something just you found out, you can find comfort with your shepherd, with Jesus. He says, because you are with me, I can. And then he says this, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So when I'm in trouble, your rod and staff comfort me. Now, a lot of people have a really weird view of this, okay? For some reason, people got the idea that the staff or the rod is for hitting the sheep. Like Jesus is up there and he's all like, now you better get in line. If you don't, wah, And so he's up to the sheep and he's like, behave, just beating the sheep. Too close? Okay. He's like beating the sheep. Okay, that is not the purpose of the rod and the staff. Because he would not have said, comfort me. Like I never said to my dad, Dad, your paddle and your belt, they comfort me. No, they burn my backside is what they do, okay? And I deserved probably every one I got. But, okay, never did I say that. No, this is not for the sheep. This is for the wolf, right? So the image that you need to see when you read this is not like Jesus coming at you, okay? This is whatever your problem is. See, the shepherd would carry this because you don't want to take on a wolf by yourself, okay? And he would have this to take on the wolf with. And you need to see this as he is there to take on your problems. He's going to fight your problems. And now if I knew like cool karate moves, this would be a great moment in my sermon, but I don't have them. So he's there to fight for you. Of course, he doesn't need a rod. He could just, but this is an illustration. That it would comfort the sheep, and he can comfort us because you know that he's going to fight for you when you're in a struggle. And you can actually begin to find peace when you begin to really know that in your heart. He keeps going, and he says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I just want to give you an image of what this looks like. So imagine like you've seen a war movie, right? With swords and fighting, and they're like stabbing each other and hitting each other with shields. And okay, you got the image? And there's this huge battle going on. And then just imagine Jesus comes and sets up a table right in the middle, puts like some chairs around, maybe like a candle, and then some plates and some silverware, and puts some delicious food on there. And then he says, here, have a seat. Now, all around you, people are fighting. He puts soldiers all around your table to protect you. And you're just sitting there chilling. Good job. And you're just eating. And this is the idea. In the presence of my enemies, in the middle of the fight, I find peace. I don't have to worry. Now, isn't that just an interesting picture? That in the middle of your struggle, that you can just be at peace? That he's going to defend you. He's going to fight for you. He's going to protect you. I'm just going to show you the rest of it and just give you the images of it, okay? You anoint my head with oil. That seems kind of weird. My cup overflows. I like that one because I just picture a big cup of Dr. Pepper on the table. Just never-ending Dr. Pepper on the table. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now think about that. Goodness and love will follow me all my life. Doesn't that sound good? That does to me. Now, when I was about 9 years old, I can't remember the exact age, 8 or 9 years old, I was in church, and they had us memorize Psalms 23. And they said, we'll give you this prize if you do. And I was like, yeah. I mean, the little kids are easy. You can be like, here's a piece of candy. Run into the wall. Okay. Whoosh. Okay. They'll just do whatever. And I would. I mean, they'd be like, I think they gave me a pen or something. And I was like, yeah. And so I memorized Psalms 23 at like 8, I think it was 9 years old. And it meant zero to me. I mean, I was like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Okay, I knew all this stuff. But it didn't mean anything at 9 years old because I didn't have any real problems. So then I started moving forward in life, and when I was in high school, there was one like week or 2 week period when like everything went bad. Have you ever had something like that? So like I was having all these problems with some friends at school, and then my grandmother had an aneurysm burst in her brain, and she was never the same. And then me and my girlfriend broke up all at once. And I just remember like just at home, it was just like, Jesus, do you want to come back now? That'd be good. Okay. Like I was just overwhelmed with it all. And then guess what just came into my head? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. And I didn't have to open my Bible. It just started coming to me, and I started remembering that thing I memorized when I was 9. And then 22 years after I memorized it, so I memorized it at 9. At 31, it was last year, I had my baby girl, right? She was born. And Tracy wasn't recovering well. She was something was wrong, so we went to the hospital. We saw the doctor, and then he told us all this stuff. He's like, it could work out fine, or it could be really bad. Okay, and he told us like all this really bad stuff. And he's like, it could be in the hospital for a couple weeks, and with IVs and and all this infection stuff, and basically scared us like really bad. So we go down to the car, and it's a moment I'll probably never forget. She's sitting in the back seat because she's with Emery, trying to keep her calm in the back seat, and I'm sitting in the front seat, and we're just sitting in the parking lot of the hospital. And I reach back, and I take her hand, and we're crying together because it was overwhelming. We hadn't slept in a week because we had a 1-week-old baby, and we were just overwhelmed because we were afraid, right? And so as we're sitting in the car together, mostly quiet, guess what came into my mind? At 9 years old, I memorized it, and at 31, I start saying, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. And it still gets me because I remember that moment. And as I got to that part, even though I walked through the valley of the shadow of death, I felt like I was in that at that moment. But then I was like, I don't have have to fear this evil. And then I messed it up because I couldn't remember it all. And we laughed, and we opened the Bible app, and then on the way home, we re-memorized it right. But it was amazing the peace I found when I remembered who my shepherd was. And I tell you this because I want you to have that tool to remember, oh, I'm in a struggle. I have a shepherd who loves me. So I would actually challenge you, encourage you, if you're like a go-getter, memorize Psalm 23, 6 verses. I can't memorize. Yes, you can. Get over that. You can. It's just if you really want to. Now, it's amazing. For the last, I guess, 23 years now, that has been with me. And it's always there whenever I feel like I'm in that valley. And I find my shepherd as I remind myself of those verses. And maybe you don't want to memorize it, but just know it's there, Psalms 23, and to remind yourself of the shepherd. Now, some of you are in that valley right now, and so what we want to do is we want to end our service and give you the opportunity to pray with somebody and let Jesus comfort your heart. Let you realize that he's there for you. So we're going to take just a couple of minutes, in just a moment. There's going to be people in the back of the room to pray with you. If you need prayer for anything going on in your life, just go to them. It's a normal thing we do every week, and let them pray with you. I'm going to pray over us all, and then we'll stand and we'll sing a song together, and during that time, you can go for prayer. Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your son, who's our shepherd. We ask that you would calm hearts. Let us know that you're there for us and you're fighting for us. In Jesus' name, amen.